What are some of the different European traditions and folklore surrounding St. John's Eve? And
Whoa!
where do they find their origins? Are
Oh,
there
I am
any other
frightened.
feast days throughout the year surrounded by similar customs and folklore? Wow, does Joshua Hernandez know you? For
Joshua, this is scary. Where do I begin? Well, yes, there's lots and lots and lots of folklore. Firstly, remember that St. John's Eve is the eve of the Nativity of St. John the Baptist, which is June the 24th. It happens, since he's the patron of the French Canadians, that wonderful, glorious people of whom I have the honor to be one. Um, June 24th is like St. Patrick's Day is for the Irish. It's our national day, the jour de juin, la fête nationale, and all that kind of stuff. So, if you are French Canadian, be sure when you'll be seeing this on Monday, you'll be sure to have yourself a pretty good stiff job of bagos, huh? The best bagos you ever buy in store, you.
Okay.
I'm sorry?
I couldn't understand you. You're speaking in Canadian, but yeah,
No, I
continue.
was speaking in English.
Yeah.
That was the
Okay.
way I used to sound me when I was little. But then everything changed, and I had to learn to speak the English so good as I do now, me. What?
Okay. Yeah. Great. Perfect English.
Yeah, well, that's my dad's English. He was a radio actor. So he wanted me to sound like him, and he succeeded.
Mm.
Anyway, what's the word? I'm missing my train of thought. The Eve of St. John has a number of traditions connected to it. The most wonderful are the bonfires. All over the Catholic world and the Orthodox world, the Eve of St. John brought in bonfires. And there is a ritual for their blessing in the Roman Rituale. And in really Catholic areas, even to this day, the priests will bless the bonfires. That's not all. In some places, they'll take wheels and they'll set them afire and roll them down hills. Now, you wouldn't want to be doing that in an LA summer.
Yeah.
But see, in this part of the world, everything is so lush that nothing's going to catch fire. That's
Okay.
why it's so humid.
Yeah.
But I know it's hard to believe where you are, but humid heat it doesn't give you forest fires unless there's been a drought or something. Anyway, so the fires are a big part of it, but there are also the what they call Johanniskräuter in German. They have other words for it in other languages, but there are particular herbs that are help against evil that people gather on this night. One of which is St. John's wort.
Ah.
Yes, so you could make your tea, and it's really disgusting. I've had some. I I would. It's probably better to hang them up in bunches outside your door to drive off evil than to actually drink the tea.
Hmm.
But put it to better use. Yarrow is another one that they use. I forget the 12. Then there's another interesting thing that they believe. On St. John's Eve, the fern flower blooms and the fern seeds are available. Now, the problem is that they're only available at midnight. So you got to nick them quick or they're gone. But if you have fern seeds, you can become invisible. And that's not all. As the people like to say in the States on Halloween, the veil between the worlds is very thin on St. John's Eve. And so you might see the elves of the dead, or God knows what, ghosts, and witches like to do their shtick. And there's all sorts of fun stuff going on in St. John's Eve. So the other question he had was, are there other nights of the year like this? Oh, you betcha. You betcha. After this one, presuming we survive St. John's Eve, and maybe we shall, then comes the night of July 31st, which is, don't be shocked, the night before August 1st.
Right.
Lammas Eve.
Lammas. Okay.
Yes. August 1st being Lammas Day. the feast of St. Peter in Chains in the traditional calendar. And it was the day, the name Lammas does not come from lambs, as you might think, but from loaf. It was the day that the very first harvest would be brought in from the fields, and they would make a loaf of bread, and that would be taken to the church to be blessed after Mass. So it was called the Loaf Mass in Anglo-Saxon, which turned into Lammas. And Lammas Eve was a weird night like that, too. But wait, we're not done with the catalog of the weird. We have not yet begun to fight.
Wait, how was Lammas Eve weird? What's the spooky part?
It was like St. John's Eve. I mean, same sorts of stories, except they didn't have bonfires.
Oh, okay.
The Celtic name for it was, well, I don't know how it was pronounced. Gaelic stuff never looks like it's written. But it's they called Lammas Lugnasa or something. And that, of course, was August the 1st. The next feast of this kind, the Eve of All Saints, Halloween. I don't really need to go into any detail about Halloween, do I? No, I didn't think so. That'll come up later. But, beyond Halloween, you're in pretty good territory. Pretty safe. Why? Christmas is coming. Now, the funny thing, though, is that in most of the Western traditions, Christmas Eve was a time free of this kind of thing. But it so happens that in the Eastern rites, they told weird tales about Christmas Eve. And there is in England a long-time custom of telling ghost stories on Christmas Eve. Hence the line in the song, there'll be scary ghost stories and tales of the glories of Christmases long, long ago. It's the most wonderful time of year.
I was just... Is that really a lyric in that?
It really is.
Scary ghost, gosh.
There'll be scary ghost stories and tales of the glories of Christmases long, long ago.
I'm surprised I've never caught that before.
Yeah. I mean, if you remember, Sir Gawain and the Green Knight takes place at Christmas.
Okay.
And of course, there were all sorts of interesting traditions, like the animals being able to speak and that kind of thing. So, Christmas Eve, although it's much more benevolent, it has its share of the strange. The next such night is the night of February the 1st, Candlemas Eve. Which is another weird, apparently eves of masses, Mrs. Eves, a lot of them are kind of strange this way. Well, then we fast forward from February the 2nd. March is fairly free of this kind of folderol, probably because of Easter. But then in April, St. Mark's Eve, the Eve of St. Mark. Now, I should say St. George's Eve, which is the night of April 22nd, in the Balkans is considered to be the vampire night.
Okay.
But the vampires fight each other. They're not more likely to go after the living. They fight each other at crossroads. So the locals tend to stay away from crossroads late at night on St. George's Eve. St. Mark's Eve has a strange tradition concerned with it. And that is that if you go into the churchyard about midnight, you go on the church porch and you look at the churchyard, the graveyard, you'll see the images of everyone who's going to die in the coming year.
On what? On the
St. Mark's Eve.
No, but on where will you see the images?
If you stand in the porch of the church, looking at the churchyard, you'll see the images of everyone who's going to be laid to rest that year.
Just floating in the sky? What do you mean?
No, they'll be walking along in a sort of procession.
Wow.
I've never seen it. I've never even gone to a church on St. Mark's Eve. I'm just telling you what they say.
Okay.
And then, there's another one. Only a few days later. April 30th, Walpurgisnacht. May Eve. Another bonfire thing, but in Central Europe. Walpurgis Night is very important because it's believed that all the witches of Central Europe gather together and have their witches' Sabbath on the Brocken in the Harz Mountains. There's a scene of Goethe's Faust that's set there. And so, what do they do you think, with the idea that the sky is literally filled with witches on broomsticks going to the Brocken? What do you think they would do in response?
Oh, well, have a bonfire, I guess. Get the smoke.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Kind of derail them if they can. Maybe bring them down. And they wear masks and all that. A lot of Halloweeny type stuff. So I think that that, of course, brings us right back to where we are now.
Wow. Thank you for that, Charles. That was quite a treat.
Yeah, you've gone through the weird year.